Dispatching multiple trucks with this Excel spreadsheet saves time, saves money, and keeps everything that you need on one screen uh, for you to keep track of your results and how things are doing at any point during the year. It records 52 weeks of information, which means that once you start using this for the next 12 months, you are going to be on top of everything that your trucks are doing, right? You're going to know if you're making money, you're going to know if you're losing money. And that is just power right there. Most trucking companies, most companies in general, wait until their accountants have published their reports at the end of the year to find out how they did this year. Did they make money? Did they lose money? Is their business profitable? With this, there'll be no surprises because you're always going to know if your runs are profitable. You're going to know if you're making money or losing money every single time. And that is gold in an industry that is as fast paced and dynamic as trucking. And here's how this form works: you open up a spreadsheet, and the first thing you do is to save it as the name of the company you're dispatching. So if this is your company, you save it as your company's name. If you're dispatching another person's company, then you're going to save it as that person's company's name. If you're dispatching 10 companies, you're going to open up one sheet for each company, and you're going to save each sheet by the name of the company that sheet is going to be used to dispatch. Now, one workbook is going to be used to dispatch multiple trucks, right? So as soon as you open the sheet, it's going to be ready to dispatch 5 trucks, but you can quickly add more trucks. The sheet that I'm looking at right now is set up to dispatch 7 trucks, and I'm going to go ahead and add truck number 8. So I am going to go to the template. I'm going to click on the template. Now, you never use the template. You never type in the template. The template's what you're always going to use to generate more worksheets for more trucks. So you can dispatch 50 trucks in one of these forms, and you should have no problem as long as you don't mess with the template, right? So you're going to go to the template and right click on it, and you're going to select move or copy. This little box that says create a copy, you're going to click on that, click OK, and then you're going to click yes to all when this little message pops up, right? And template number 2 has been created, as you can see it right here, but I'm going to right click on that, select rename, and I'm going to name it truck number 8 and enter. And just like that, truck number 8 is created and ready to go. Okay, well, let's go back to truck number 1 because we're starting at the beginning. So we've opened up a new sheet. We've named it Ghost Freight Transportation because that's the company we're dispatching for. And then in the actual sheet, or to prepare the worksheet, and you're going to do this for every one of these worksheets. So if there's only one truck, you only have to do it once. But for every time you open up a new workbook for a new truck, you're going to have to enter that information again. When you get the sheet, it'll have this information in there just so that you know what's what. You can change it as you go ahead. There's a little logo in the top left corner. You can delete what we have here and you can place your own logo if you need it, or you can just delete it and forget about it. It's really not that important. The name of the company, the motor carrier number of the company, the USDOT number of the company, and the license plate of the truck that this worksheet is going to be used for, right? So truck number 1 will have one number. Truck number 2 will have to have a different number. So, right, and just like that, we change it, hit enter. And then the second thing you want to do once you open up this sheet is to enter your projected CPM, cost per mile. And for most trucks, that's around $1.80. But you have to know for your individual truck that you are dispatching what the cost per mile is. If you are dispatching a Freightliner Cascadia 2022, your cost per mile is probably around $1.60 per mile, right? If you're dispatching a 2010 Peterbilt, you're probably looking at a cost per mile of over $2, right? So depending on which truck you're dispatching, you have to enter the correct CPM, cost per mile here. Now this is a projected CPM, but this is the CPM that the form uses to calculate all of the mileage calculations, the cost per mile calculations in the worksheet. And the reason for that is that if we use the actual cost, then it would be wrong if you only miss any of the expenses. So as you go down in the form, you're going to be filling out what it costs to move a load, right? What it costs in fuel, what it costs in reefer fuel, for example, or any other type of fuel your rig needs, and any special permits, truck wash, tolls and scales, uh, tickets and fines, maintenance and fluids, lumper fees, insurance add-ons, right? Taxes and license, miscellaneous expenses, and so on. And right above that part of the form, it's also going to be recording your accessorials. This is additional monies that you're going to charge. So this is money coming in, your expenses is money going out, right? And you're keeping track of that. Driver's pay. Now, when you enter your driver's pay, at the top of the form, and we can get back to that in a minute, then your driver's pay will be automatically calculated. So you don't type anything here. But it is also being calculated as an expense, right? Because you pay that out. Now let's go back to setting up your form. So you've already added your cost per mile at $1.80, but you can add it at whatever. And then we're going to add the driver's pay. Now, right now we have percentage, but most driver's pay is calculated as a rate per mile. So we're just going to use this little down arrow here, and we're going to switch it from percentage to rate per mile. And then we're going to enter a rate per mile, let's say 70 cents, 0.70. That's a very reasonable salary, or a median salary. Truck drivers earn between 40 cents a mile and 90 cents a mile, depending on who they're driving for, what they're driving, and what this going rates are for that particular type of equipment. And then you're going to enter your dispatch rate. Now, whether or not you hire a dispatcher, you need to enter your dispatch rate, because that's how you get paid if you own the truck. Now, your dispatcher should always be paid. If you own multiple trucks and you're dispatching them yourself, then you should be paid, or you should know exactly what your salary is going to be. A lot of the mistake that companies make is to think that their profits is their salary. Your profit is not your salary. Your profit is what your company earns, right? And your company pays taxes on profits. Your salary is something separate, and you need to take that out on your own. Anyway, so I digress. Your dispatch rate, whether it's you dispatching your own trucks, recording your own salary, or whether or not maybe your wife is dispatching your trucks while you're driving, or maybe you've hired an independent dispatcher and you need to pay them, you're going to keep track of it. And the rate that I always like to use is 0.1%, 1%, right? So, sorry, 10%. So you in Excel, you enter 0.7, 0.5, 0.1, 0.2 to get your percentage. So I entered 0.1, it came up as 10%. 0.2 would be 20%, and so on. All right, so now that I've entered these three pieces of information, the form is ready to go, and it will calculate everything. Great. So let's head off to week 1, and let's go ahead and make a quick entry. Now, the first thing you need to do before you start making your entries is to click on broker lookup, and it'll take you over to this sheet where you're going to enter the name of your broker. Here I have an example. Let's say Ghost Freight Logistics. The contact name for that broker is just an example, and the just an example's telephone number, and the EIN number of Ghost Freight Logistics, as well as the MC and DOT number of Ghost Freight Logistics, right? That is important information for you to always know what's going on with your broker. We're going to be adding much more information to this broker sheet as we move along, but for now, that's the information that is available. All right, so let's continue. You've already set that up. Oh wait, no, this is important. Let me show you how to add additional brokers. So broker, the form will come with 12 spaces for brokers. So you just simply have to enter or change the name to the actual name of your broker and the actual telephone number, enter that information for each broker that you actually have. But if you want to add more brokers, then you would just highlight the last row and you'll scroll down, all right, and it'll add more slots for brokers, and you can continue adding as many brokers as you want, and they will all show up on the worksheet when you are ready to select which broker this load is being moved for. So broker number one, let's say that it is you're removing this load for Ghost Freight Logistics, and if you notice, the phone number pops up right there, which allows you to have a quick reference, because you know you have to make calls and call the broker whenever you need to. Now you enter the rate confirmation number here. So let's go with RC1001. Let's say that is the rate confirmation number on that particular rate confirmation, just for reference, so you can always get back to it. Then you enter a pickup location. So let's go with Miami, Florida, and a delivery location. So let's go with Brooklyn, New York. All right. You enter a pickup date. And when you're entering the pickup date, this little box here will tell you exactly how you need to enter the pickup date. And unfortunately, you're going to have to enter it like, you have to take your time, and you're going to have to put in the month / date / full year, right? Then you have to enter the hours, minutes. So 10 a.m. Sorry, 10:30, and then a.m. or p.m. All right. After you've done it a few times, it'll be pretty quick, so you don't have to worry too much about it. And you're going to enter the delivery date. Then you're going to enter the distance in miles. So let's say that you're going to run 1,000 miles. By your calculation, you're going to actually enter that. And if you're quoting the broker for 1,000 miles, you're probably going to quote around 3,000. Let's go with $3,300. Right? So you're essentially running that load for $3.30 per mile. Things are a bit iffy with rates right now, so I don't suggest going much higher than that. But or maybe you would probably have to go higher than that for a run like that. But I mean, you guys can let me know. You're the experts. All right. So what happens is that once you've entered this information, the form should calculate. What's happening here? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I made a mistake with something. All right, let's go ahead and enter this again here. 1.80. I think I was on the wrong form when I entered it before, on the wrong spreadsheet when I entered before, because I'm now on truck number one. I don't know where I was when I entered it the first time. So the cost per mile, see, the sheet doesn't work unless this information is here. That's why it's the second most important thing that you're going to enter here, or the most important thing, right? So the driver's pay, we're going to go ahead and add it at rate per mile of 70 cents, we said. Great. And then we're going to go ahead and enter the dispatch rate at 0.10. Great. I think what happened is that I had used another one of these spreadsheets when I started. So we're back at truck number one. That's where I want to be. Great. So now that I've entered that information again, here we are. The dispatch fee has been populated, and the rate per mile is populated. Yeah. And let's say that we've agreed with the broker, and well, you won't enter this information here unless you agree to the broker. That means that the truck is now en route. So the status of the load, you're always keeping track of the status of the load. So when the driver's on their way to the pickup point, you're going to be recording this as en route. When they've reached the pickup point, you're going to change it to picking up. All right. When they've actually picked up and they have left, then they are in transit. And then when they've reached the destination, they're going to be delivering. But then you may have situations where there's a detention situation. You want to know which one of your trucks are in detention. So you're always going to remember to change the status of the truck so that you or any of your employees or anybody else who looks at this sheet will know exactly what's going on. So if you're suddenly called away for an emergency, let's say you got to go pick up your child from school, or something happens and you just have to leave your desk and you want to just hand everything over to another person in your office, then you can simply take this form and say, here, I need you to take over for me. I'm stepping out. And they don't even have to wonder what's up. They can come straight to this form and know exactly where all your trucks are and what exactly is the next step that needs to be done. Yeah. So, and we can go on. At the point that the load is actually delivered, that will be the next option. And then we have invoiced. After the load is delivered, then your next step as the dispatcher is to invoice the shipper with the proof of delivery. And then you are going to again change the status once you're paid. Now I have paid partial here and I have paid in full. Most of the time you will never need to use paid partial, but I just thought it would be good to have it there if there is some sort of situation, some sort of discussion where you decided to accept a partial payment from a broker. You can basically state paid partial so that you know that, hey, I still have more to collect on this and I don't forget about it. Or you will change the page in full. So once you hit paid in full, you'll notice that the outstanding amount has gone down and the paid in full has gone up, right? So I'm going to go ahead real quick and change that back to say invoiced, which means it hasn't been paid as yet, and you'll notice that it's being recorded in outstanding and not in paid in full, right? But as soon as I change it, it changes to paid in full. Sorry, it switches to paid in full, right? So not only does it record that here, but if you go right back to the top, we'll notice that this is the only load that we've run for the entire year. So we're going to see that the exact same amounts up here, right? Loads booked, 3,300, and the dispatch, sorry, we've selected paid in full, so it moved it to the paid in full column, and from that very first load that we ran, we can actually see so far that our actual cost is $700. Now, this isn't accurate because our projected cost is $1,800. Our actual cost is $700, right? This is the calculation. Sorry, this $1.80 is what is being used to calculate your cost per mile. See, cost of operations is $1,800. Your actual cost, sorry, your projected cost is $1,800, but your actual cost is only saying $700 because the only expense that has been entered so far, and that is because it happens automatically in week one, is your driver's pay of $700, which is right here. All right. So when you entered this information here, it immediately calculated what the driver gets paid because we know that he gets 70 cents per mile, and he has gone 1,000 miles in that run. Okay. So but when you go to your expenses, sorry, and you add the fuel costs for that run, right? Let's say you're running a reefer, you will have other fuel costs like your reefer fuel to add. Or if you're running oversized load, then you may have special permits, that additional cost, right? So all of the little costs, you may have tolls or scales, right? You may have tickets or fines. I mean, I hope you don't have tickets or fines, but these things happen and you're going to need to stick them in there because that's a part of the cost, right? You've got to keep track of everything. Maintenance and fluids. Did you need to add any additional fluids to the truck in the process of moving that load, right? Lumper fees. Did you need to hire lumpers in order to get that trailer unloaded or offloaded? And the thing with lumper fees is that it's usually reimbursed, not all the time, but when it's reimbursed, it suddenly becomes an accessorial. So even though you enter it here as an expense, it balances out because when you get it back, if you get it back from the broker, then you're going to be able to enter it here. But there are times when you don't get it back from the broker, so it's important that you also have it recorded as your expense, so you know that that your figures are accurate. So sorry. Right, hazardous materials. I'm in the wrong place. Right. So insurance add-ons, should there be any need for additional insurance in order to carry a particular load, you may have the required amount of insurance, but for some reason this particular load needs you to have additional insurance. You want to add it as an expense, right? Taxes and licenses or miscellaneous expenses. Anything I didn't think of here, you can add it under miscellaneous. And also these with a little bit of knowledge of Excel, you can change these titles. All right. If you find that you need to, there's something that you need here that is not here, I recommend you reach out to me and I'll tell you how to do it. You can do that from the website, or you can do that from our Facebook page at Facebook.com/Dispatch Network. Now, what happens is that, the next thing we want to do, now that we have entered our load and we have paid in full, we're going to be able to do that for every load. So this is just 1 week and this is just one load, but we're already on top of all of the information. We know exactly what's going on with our figures, and all we have entered is like 3 things. We've entered the distance, we've entered the amount that we're charging, yeah, and we have entered the information at the top of the form. But this form is already telling us from load number 1, how are we looking? Well, let's take a look at how we're looking. We've only moved one single load, which we've charged $3,300 for. Right? Imagine if you've moved 5 loads a week for 52 weeks, then that figure would be pretty healthy, wouldn't it? And we can see we've received all of that money. It's been paid in full. We can see that it costs $700, but we haven't added fuel and so on as yet. So let's say it costs $1,800 then to move that load after we've added fuel and all of our additional costs. So this is the actual figure we're relying on. This is here just for information purposes, but this is what we're actually counting on. All right. If you're meticulous like me, this is going to match this, because well, it's not necessarily going to match it too, because this is a projected cost, but you may challenge yourself, as I would, to see how you can keep this actual cost below this at all times. And I would become very worried if my actual cost is coming up higher than my projected cost. It means that either I've calculated my cost per mile for the truck wrong, or I'm paying more than I should for something, or I'm not billing the shippers or the brokers high enough to move the loads. A lot of the time we get caught up with what we see on the load boards, and we get caught up with the competition, and we're not getting caught up with the facts and figures of how our company is doing. We can't take a load just because the load board says it should be this rate, because if your company, your truck cannot operate at less than less than $1.80 per mile, how would you be taking loads at anything less than $2.80 per mile? Because what's happening is that your figures have to come out as a profit. You're a company, you're operating to make money, and the profit that you make is the reason you're in business, right? So you're not in business to lose money. And the funny thing is that there's so many hidden costs. So when you think to yourself, well, $1,170 on a load is a lot of money. No, it's not. No, it's not, because while you're driving along the highway, your truck can blow a steer tire. Your truck can blow, well, any tires for that matter. And you need to call roadside assistance. You need to purchase new tires. You need, there are costs involved. There are hidden costs that you don't plan for, and it happens. And then all of a sudden you're at a loss, and nobody else but you is losing. The broker still gets his money, right? But because you didn't plan your business and your company properly and what you're going to earn properly, you're the only one losing money. Whereas if you had catered for that in your margins, this is what this is called, right? This seems a little high, but I promise you at the end of the year, when you calculate it, it won't look this perfect because there's so many things that will happen during the year that you're going to have to deal with that you can't plan for, right? If you get through the year and you're lucky and you don't have any problems, then that's a good year and you've made good profits. But there's going to be those times when things are going to go bad. Your truck is going to break down completely and you're going to need to hire to rent another rig to get on the road to keep making money while your truck is in the shop or while your truck is waiting for parts, right? So if you don't have enough of a buffer in your planning and your margins to cover that and still stay profitable at the end of the year, right? There's so many people who have to shut their companies down because they just didn't plan for this stuff. And that's not how this works. All right. So I'm just so excited to be able to share some of this information with you and to kind of give you an idea of how this little dispatch form can keep you looking good and keep you stay on top of your entire business all year round. I think this is gold right here. When I was putting this together, it's when I was trying to create my own dispatch company. And I said, well, if I hire dispatchers, I need them to be able to come in and all work to the same standard all the time and you know and not have any stress about trying to figure out what they should do next and how. So I said, well, why don't I put together this Excel spreadsheet so that my employees are going to be, on the ball, top notch, always delivering. And so when I did it, I myself was totally shocked at how much I was able to add. The first version of this wasn't as impressive. It was impressive in itself. It blew my mind. But when I started thinking about what else can I add? What else can I add? And I started to keep going, I was just like, oh, you know what? Nah, I got to share this with the world because this is what I've always been talking about. This is the kind of stuff I've been trying to tell people. And this is the solution. And there's still more we're going to keep adding. There's things in my mind that I want to see here. It's just going to blow your minds when it's completely finished. That an Excel spreadsheet can do all of this, keep your company, uh, keep track of your profit and loss. Profit and loss hasn't been added as yet, but that's the next step. That's the next thing we're working on right now. So that as you add your information in, your profit and loss statements, um, are being calculated, your figures rather in numbers are being calculated in much more detail, right? And um my hope is that you would even know exactly how much taxes you have to pay. And well, let me not talk too much about it before it's done, but it's going to be amazing. So you really want to get this right now. It's $47 on the website at dispatchform.com. All right, dispatchform.com. And or you can just reach out to us at facebook.com/dispatch network if you want to have any questions or you need any modifications or anything, you want to make any suggestions, right? Because some of the things that are here came from suggestions from people who are using the form. We currently have quite a few hundred people using it and everybody so far is happy. I've only had one complaint and I should probably mention it. The one complaint I've had about this form, right, from the hundreds of people who are using it is, well, it doesn't work with Google Sheets. No, it doesn't. Google Sheets has come a long way over the years, but it cannot handle a complex spreadsheet like this one. So if you open this in Google Sheets, there's functionality that will not work, and you'll know it right away. All right. So you're gonna need Microsoft Office 365, right? Don't use the older versions of Microsoft. It may or may not work. There's so many versions of Microsoft. Upgrade your Microsoft to the most recent version, Microsoft Office 365, and open up Excel with the latest version, because this is only going to get more complex from here, more powerful from here, and you're going to need the right software to operate it. Okay. All right. So I really hope you enjoyed this quick overview. Well, not so quick, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I will be putting out a lot more information and a lot more my smaller, details in smaller bites as to how we can use this form. All right. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to seeing how you are using the dispatch form in your business. Uh, if you're proud of your numbers, go ahead and share them with us, share them on your social, so that the whole world can see how effective this little dispatch form is, and the lives, or the business or the company that is changing your lives. All right. So thank you. Have an amazing one. And until the next video.